Welcome to another round of Drawing Board or Miro Board. Today we discuss technical diagramming with systems architect Maya. Let's go. First question. You've spent 10 hours slogging over a sequence diagram that should have taken 5. Drawing board or Miro board?
Drawing board. And if I'm being honest, Miro would probably cut that time down by half. You know, with its AI tools and ready-to-go templates.
Next, your diagrams become so bulky, it's more complex than the solar system. But all it takes is a few clicks and...
It's Miro. I've used those technical shape packs way too many times, and stuff is just digestible on its infinite online canvas.
Now, the final question. Everyone's brought in, but you have to make all these tasks all the way over in Jira. But wait, it's done. Is it...
Miro, easy with its two-way Jira sync. Easy to plot dependencies. Everyone always knows what's up.
And she's done it.
Join over 60 million people creating technical diagrams without workflow glitches. Get your first 3 boards for free at Miro.com. That's Miro.com.
Welcome to Wisconsin in Focus. I'm Eliana Kernodle, standing in for J.D. Davidson today. None of the Republicans who signed on as one of former President Donald Trump's Wisconsin electors are being charged in a new fraud case, but 3 former Trump advisors are. Joining me to tell us more about this is Wisconsin contributor Benjamin Yount. Ben, tell us more about this story.
You've got to go back to the days after the 2020 election here in Wisconsin, which, as I think about it, I can't tell you how many times a podcast here, a Wisconsin in Focus podcast, has started with that sentence. All right, let's go back to the 2020 presidential election in Wisconsin. And that really does sort of highlight what's at stake here. That on the one hand, we're now 4 years later, 4 years past that election almost. And Wisconsin's Democratic Attorney General is finally filing charges against Republicans for something that happened nearly 4 years ago. But you also have a sense of this was a legal strategy that played out 4 years ago, and there haven't been any charges until June of 2024, and that's part of the story as well. The electors in question, depending on which news site you go to, are either the fake electors or the alternate electors. And this is something that's been done in a number of states, but got a lot of attention in 2020 that you had a slate of Trump supporters who signed the paperwork that said Donald Trump won the election in our state. That, by the way, is sort of how it works. Everybody goes to the ballot box on election day, then those votes are counted. And once the count and the recount and the absentee ballots and the overseas ballots, once that's all finalized, the state of Wisconsin, the state of Michigan, the state of Pennsylvania, the state of Georgia certify the vote. And you have the electors, this is the Electoral College, who say, yep, this is who won the vote in our state. That's an official act. Well, you had in Wisconsin and in other states a slate of Trump electors who signed a piece of paper that said, well, no, hold on, Donald Trump won our state. And the strategery behind this was if a judge somehow, and by the time this happened in early 2021, it was obvious that it wasn't going to happen, but still the legal strategy was, hey, you need to have Trump electors ready to go if by some hook, crook, or miracle a judge were to overturn the election results. You didn't want to be caught flat-footed with the only slate of electors being Biden electors. These attorneys, Kenneth Chesebro and Jim Troupis, were the ones who formulated the strategy and talked to 10 different Republicans who met at the Wisconsin Capitol. They didn't do this in a back room, by the way. There's video of this happening. And they said, sign this, and if some way we can overturn the election, then President Trump will win. That, of course, didn't happen. The third person charged here is accused of giving that slate, that piece of paper, to someone on Capitol Hill on January 6th in a last-ditch attempt to get Mike Pence to somehow do something to stop the election. That, of course, as we all know, didn't happen. It's important to know that none of the 3 people who are being charged here are being charged for actually signing that document. They're just the lawyers and the former Trump aide who sort of acted as the middleman for that slate. The Attorney General is charging them with fraud, essentially saying they conspired to commit fraud to file an official document that claimed Donald Trump won when there was no evidence that Donald Trump won. The question, and really where Wisconsin's senior senator, Republican Ron Johnson, came down, is that these were lawyers who were offering legal advice. May not have been the best legal advice. It certainly wasn't winning legal advice, but what Johnson and many Republicans in Wisconsin are accusing the Attorney General of is weaponizing the justice system to get political opponents and, in the end, trying to make illegal the idea that a lawyer can tell a client to do something and that client then listens. This is a case that has gotten an awful lot of attention from some people in the Wisconsin political media. This is something that if you listen to the more liberal talk radio stations in the state, if you read the newspaper in Madison, particularly the Capital Times, which is sort of the lefter-leaning newspaper in Madison, this is front page news, has been. Why hasn't Josh Kaul filed charges against the Trump electors? Why are these fake electors not in prison? And this is also the story at the same time that is getting almost zero attention from actual voters. That this is something from 4 years ago that most people didn't understand then and that very few people understand now. And so the split here, like so much in Wisconsin, is in the eye of the beholder, is in the lean of your politics. And the question does come down to why now? Why, after Trump was convicted in New York? Why, as we are heading now into the long summer campaign season? And what happens next? Matt Kittle had a piece over at the Federalist where he flat out accused Kaul of trying to jail 3 attorneys for doing something that's not a crime to begin with. But this, again, goes back to how we started this very same conversation. We've got to go back to those days after the 2020 election. And Wisconsin saw something that I've never seen in my 20-something years as a journalist. There were so many questions about that 2020 election that have never been answered. Here now, almost 4 years later, we still don't have really any answers about the Zuckerbucks money, particularly up in Green Bay. Ballot drop boxes, indefinitely confined voters, democracy in the park in Madison, where they had a mass absentee ballot fill-out party and just put all sorts of ballots into a box. It is an example, and this Electors story is an outgrowth of that. It is an example of what happened when people lost faith in the electoral process, that people in Wisconsin went from trusting that our elections were fair, free, and competently managed to now seeing a boogeyman behind every corner. And that's an assessment of both left and right, that you have so many people on both sides of the political spectrum who so don't trust the other side that when it comes to anything election related, it's not just a one-off. It's not just an occurrence. It's not just a happenstance. It's part of a conspiracy. It's part of a crime. It's part of trying to weaponize. And we're going to have to go through another election with that hanging on our shoulder. We're going to have to go through another election in November that is going to be very close, settled by thousands of votes, with that kind of attitude being the prevailing attitude. And no good comes from it. But the only hope is that in 2024, whatever happens, election managers in the state can get it right, get it done in a way that settles these questions so that we're not sitting here in 2028 having a conversation again about the things that happened in 2024 that we never got an answer to. And so, yeah, this Electors story is just one of the pieces of the legacy of 2020 here in Wisconsin that I don't see it being settled anytime soon.
Well, Ben, thank you for your insights on this story. And like you said, this has been going on for a while and doesn't seem to be being resolved anytime soon. So listeners can keep up with this story and more at thecentersquare.com.
Welcome to another round of Drawing Board or Miro board. Today we discuss technical diagramming with systems architect Maya. Let's go. First question. You've spent 10 hours slogging over a sequence diagram that should have taken 5. Drawing board or Miro board?
Drawing board. And if I'm being honest, Miro would probably cut that time down by half. You know, with its AI tools and ready-to-go templates.
Next, your diagrams become so bulky, it's more complex than the solar system. But all it takes is a few clicks and...
It's Miro! I've used those technical shape packs way too many times, and stuff is just digestible on its infinite online canvas.
Now, the final question. Everyone's brought in, but you have to make all these tasks all the way over in Jira. But wait, it's done! Is it...
Miro, easy with its two-way Jira sync. Easy to plot dependencies. Everyone always knows what's up.
And she's done it!
Join over 60 million people creating technical diagrams without workflow glitches. Get your first 3 boards for free at Miro.com. That's Miro.com.